I was right. Like I said in the last video, what I'm still short of is a quest manager. Now, I think that's going to be easy. I think that's just going to be a dictionary. It was just a dictionary. The end. As a professional creative, I've been using 3ds Max for a very long time. And whilst the UK can't afford to hire anyone, I'm filling my days as a solo indie game dev. Recently, I've released Combat Search Rescue on the MetaQuest, and now I'm prototyping a game for release on Steam. So welcome back. I've now created a quest system for my narrative-led small open world game, and my NPCs can now give out keys and quests. So let's take a look at that. We just fly along to the end of this level, and there are some new objects. First of all is a key, and you can collect them. Excuse the lack of collection animation. Like I said before, we're not working on graphics particularly at this stage or animations. We are just working on systems. And then I've added this signpost, which is like a fast travel post, and when you press the button, it takes you back to the map. And now with this key, I should be able to unlock something with it. So let's have a look at that. And as you can see, the padlock now opens and it reveals the new level. And then we can go into the level. And let's jump back on here. And it's going to have a quick look at the next thing. So I've added the keys. The keys now get recorded and it knows which levels are unlocked. So you can collect the keys randomly from wherever I hide them in the game. The other place you can collect keys from are the NPCs, because now they are connected to my shiny new quest manager. Okay, so I added some boats. This was just a model from another project that wasn't finished, so I just dragged it in and textured it up very quickly. Nice house, looks like a boat. It is a boat. You see, I'm a fisherman and I live on my fishing boat. What fish can you catch in a desert? None, but this isn't a desert. This is the ocean. Where's all the water? They've stolen it. Okay, so that's that one done. Okay, now this one, you sell fish bones. Indeed, they make good combs. Sadly, I don't have any money. I'll tell you what, if the water comes back, you can have them all. Now he has triggered a quest. And I don't know what I should do about telling the player about that. Maybe I don't need to tell the player about it. Maybe that was the telling the player about it. But there's definitely a quest activated, which is to bring the water back to the ocean. And then I've added a third NPC. So you're looking to find our missing water. If I can, yes. I believe it's in the mountains. You'll need this key to go there. Now, I don't know why the key's coming up behind the speech bubble. I haven't looked into it. But he's given me this key. And now I need to go and find the fast travel. So let's just zoom down here. And when I go to the fast travel, because I have a key, one of these should open, like so. Now I probably need to bring on that new texture in a fancy way, but that's for later on. But now at least I can start adding in storyline, narrative, quests, keys, so I can unlock the entire world. So I noticed in the last video that when I'd shown a 3D model of the padlock, people were rewinding that section and watching it multiple times. So let's have a look at some of my models that I've added since then. Just if that's what you're interested in, I can show you. I had to redesign these padlocks because the original one couldn't open. So let's have a look at that. So this was my original padlock. This is the low poly model. And all I'd done is I'd modeled this half and then mirrored it across. So you can see the clasp could never open because it had a hinge on both sides. Now, when I modeled this clasp, I only ever intended it to be a graphic to show that the level was locked. Instead of putting a 2D graphic on, I wanted a 3D one. But I liked it so much, I wanted then to see it animate. So I had to redesign this padlock so it could open. So this is my padlock that's redesigned, and as you can see now I don't have two hinges. I can now open and close the padlock. And obviously this is just the quad model, it's not the in-game model. The in-game model has a lot more topology. So this is the in-game model. It's got a bit more topology there. Now I know in game art you wouldn't normally have this much, but I have budgeted for 3 million polygons as my maximum, which will run on the worst of graphics cards, I'm told. So you can see that I've only got 8,000 triangles in that entire model, and on the selection map screen you probably never even reach 1 million polygons on that. So I'm happy to stay with this amount. And this one, obviously, I can open and close this one too. I animated it in Unity. Now I also designed a key to go with that, and it's a very low poly model, but it looks quite detailed. It's got a bit of bevel on the edge. So that's 2,646 triangles. So together in total, the padlock and the key, nearly 11,000 triangles. This is my signpost. This is 1,300 triangles. You can see it's high poly because I've beveled the edges and the lines aren't straight. I like putting like wiggles in the lines so they're not so computer generated. This is 96 triangles. This is the in-game version. And what I did is I used Substance Painter to bake the normals from my high poly onto this. So that is the in-game model there. And it's 96 triangles, which looks quite a lot for something so basic, but it's because I've added these lines aren't straight. Everything's slightly whimsical. So it looks a little bit more realistic. So that's the model for the signpost. What else did I do? And this is the boat model. So it's a very basic boat. It's got polygons where it doesn't really need polygons, but I am not so worried. The thing about this boat is it's clearly a modern or modern-ish fishing boat that would have an engine somewhere in here, and the propeller would come out the back and power it along. Now, I haven't really worked out what era my game is set in, so I don't know whether it's going to be a boat with a motor. Probably not. I think I'm going to go more towards the fantasy end. So I may have to redesign this boat and put a sail on it. This was for another project which hasn't been completed. It's been put on the back burner because I ran out of money and the software that I'm using is quite expensive for it. So it's a project I'll resume in the future, and you can have a look at that on my website. There is a behind the scenes, and should I make any money at any point in life, which is not looking likely in this day and age, there's no money in the UK, all the companies have gone bust and nobody's hiring. So if the money ever comes back, I will continue that other project. Anyway, I digress. Let's have a look at this dictionary. So I was right, it was a dictionary, and I've split it into two. I've got a key dictionary and a quest log dictionary. So setting a quest is just as simple as submitting the quest name and the quest status. And it's just the same for when you've been given a key. You just submit which scene and then the key status. So it's locked, have key, and unlocked. I started off with a Boolean, locked and unlocked Boolean. And then I realized that if I wanted to animate this key, padlock opening, I needed another state to say that I have a key, but it's not unlocked yet. So I made it locked, have key, unlocked. So when you go to the selection map, when the selection map loads, it looks at the keys and sees what you have and what's locked and what's unlocked. It now looks at what you have the key for, and if you scroll round to that segment that you have a key for, it takes the control away from you, and then the key comes in, unlocks the padlock, and then it changes the texture from this kind of metallic solid texture to whatever the texture of that layer is, and brings on any scenery objects that I've put in. So on the desert level, it's replaced blue. I want to put a water shader there or an ocean shader on that, but I haven't found one that works for this yet, and I don't know how to make it myself from scratch. But I've added the boats. The boats pop in and they animate round and round. So that was it. The hardest thing about using a dictionary is when you come to save it to disk. Serializing a dictionary with JSON isn't supported by default. I did a fair bit of reading on this, and there were options where you convert it to lists, and the other one was there was another library you could load, and I don't know how to do that, and I was like, am I going down a path that I don't really need? There are other options. I don't need to load a new library in that I don't know how to use, so I went with this option. We obtain a reference to the dictionaries, and then we convert them to lists. And then once you convert them to lists, you've then got to wrap that list in another list and have that set to serialize so it lays the data out properly according to the website I was reading. So that's what I've done, and it's a real faff and a pain in the butt. Instead of just going convert dictionary to JSON, you've got to do all this nonsense. But it's there now, and I don't have to do it again because I've done it. So the quest system works. There was a fair bit of procrastination in the last couple of weeks, and normally when I'm procrastinating it's because I'm finding something difficult or I don't understand it. And the thing I was finding difficult that meant I didn't get much done was putting things into my scene is a real pain. I have to hard code it because I'm trying to drag things in from the object pool. So I can't just drag things into an editor and go, I want a key here, I want this here, I want this boat there. I've got to write code for it. So I need a system that makes this easier, because I'm not going to get very far without this. I have the object pool, the trees load, the NPCs load, but I need a better way of putting objects and building scenery into my game that takes those objects from the object pool. I haven't worked that out yet, and I suppose that's what the next video will be. If you want to support me, head over to itch.io, at least play the in-browser version of Combat Search Rescue. It still hasn't been indexed yet by Itch. I don't know what's going on over there, and they're probably inundated with AI rubbish. So I need some help. I need some people playing the game so it goes up in the play counts, and maybe they will index it, and then the rest of Itch can see it and find it and play it. Till next time, these endings, I'm going to have to